Cut through the dark, slice stories of life. Whisper shiver down the hall tonight. Phantoms aching for a chance to ignite.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm Rob here on Oops All Ghosts. Once again, we're going to be reading some spooky stories here on Reddit. We'd love to hear from you guys too. So if you got a horror tale that you would like to tell, we want to hear from you. Look for some stories. I got one lined up. Some weird encounters happening on Reddit. I'd love for you to sit back, enjoy some spooky stories. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Reading this horror story. It was posted 6 hours ago on Reddit. Mysterious Listen 20 has got 7 upvotes and 6 comments on it. So if you want to check it out yourself, feel free to check it out yourself. It says, something happening, or am I going crazy? Hey everyone. Something weird's been going on at my house lately, and I can't really explain it. Has anyone ever experienced something like this? A few quick facts. I live alone in a 2-story house. There's a small yard and a Rottweiler who sleeps outside. Only one neighbor, and they're right next to my yard. The house is fairly new. Nothing creepy or old looking about it. First instance. The first knock a few nights ago, around 12 a.m. It was raining, and I was chilling in bed watching reels. Nothing spooky. Suddenly, I heard 3 loud, clear knocks. Not taps, not creaks. Knocks. It sounded like someone was at my door. I paused my phone and listened. My first thought was, is someone actually here? But my Rottweiler, who's normally super alert, was silent. And when I checked on him later, he was fast asleep in the doghouse. I waited a few minutes in silence for another knock. Nothing. It says eventually. I got up, checked the house, yard, everything, completely clear. No signs of anyone. Night number 2. The haunting continues. The second night, the next night, I was in bed again, all quiet. Around 3 a.m., I jolted awake to what sounded like a single knock. No follow-up, no movement, just that one sound. Now, I'm not sure if I actually heard it or dreamed it, but I felt real enough to sit up and listen. Today, the lights were on. Fast forward to today. I came home from work like usual. I opened the door and I noticed something immediately off. The LED strip lights in my living room were on. Not just there, the ones in my bedroom too. Now here's the thing. I'm 100% sure I turned them off before leaving. They're not on any timer, and they can only be turned on with a remote, which no one has except me. At first I brushed it off. Maybe I was tired, maybe I forgot. But the more I thought about it, the stranger it felt. Like the kind of thing you try to explain anyway, but deep down, you know, something's not adding up. One time, we kept hearing knocking at the side of our house, and it was consistent. And we're wondering what it was. So I built up the confidence to check outside, and the first time, there was nothing there. I'm like, okay, this is a little weird. So again, I'm sitting down, I'm watching a movie with the wife, and we hear the knocking again. And I check outside, there's a whole freaking family of raccoons just knocking on the side of my house. I don't know what they were trying to get into. They couldn't get into the garbage, but there was like 6 of them. And it was spooky, man. Like, just hear knocking at the side of your house. A shadow person seen by me and my father. This was posted 2 hours ago. Oh geez, my finger keeps twitching. Throw away a neat girl posted this 2 hours ago. Shadow person seen by me and my father. It's got 5 upvotes to it. It's a bit of a shorter one, but who knows. When I was 12 years old, a traumatic experience happened in my life that caused my parents and I to move states and caused my father to have a traumatic brain injury. Life was really crazy after that. There's a reason why I'm telling you this. We lived and moved into an apartment in Marietta, Georgia, from New York, and it only had one bedroom. My parents took the bedroom. I slept in the living room. One night, I was really tired, and I couldn't go to sleep in the living room because my parents were watching TV. Well, my father was. I'm sure my mother was passed out. Long story short, I go in their bed. They have a walk-in closet that had a perpendicular to the bed. Now, their bedroom was dark, but the walk-in closet was darker. So I'm laying in there, and I look into the closet, and I see this figure, this outline, darker than darkness of the entire closet. No face, tall, broad shoulders, wearing what looked like a trench coat and an old-time 1920s gangster hat. It's moving left and right, backwards and forwards, like it's jumping. Just remember, this is giving me chills. I look down and I notice it has no feet. I feel petrified. Finally, I get up the courage to get up and run, and I run straight to my father, but I stop and I don't say a word. I'm afraid of him because that brain injury makes him erratic. So I just stare, petrified, silent. He looks up at me and he says, I know. I see it too. I've had people tell me it was a manifestation of the dark stuff that was happening in my life at the time. I've had some people believe it was a dark curse on my family. Other family members have seen it, and my father said he saw it weeks before that bad event. I don't know, but that's what happened. My father ended up getting a Bible and saying a few things from the revelation in the closet after that, and never saw it again. Oh, man. Could you imagine? Like, just seeing something darker than laying in the closet. Like, a darker dark. No, thank you. No thanks. By Alec Mack. And it goes, a little about me before the story. And it's just a dream coincidence story, so don't get too excited. I'm a very, very evidence-based person. Like 1% extreme, tedious, and annoying. What's the evidence guy? I have a best friend at school, John. From about 14 to 19, we were inseparable. And we were adventurers. Rock climbing, scuba diving, paragliding. We cocked up our educations going off of half-baked trips. And when we weren't off sharing near-death experiences, we were drinking, fighting, and hooking up with girls. It was the 80s in the UK. Pubs were our natural home. Then John moved 600 miles away. And while we didn't lose touch completely, we drifted apart. I've never had a dream that caused me a moment's concern. Never had a dream that I thought was anything other than just a dream. 25 years after John and me drifted apart, I dreamt I was back at school in our last year, 18 years old, and John has tears streaming down his face and says, I need a hug, man. I started to give him a hug and woke up completely freaked out. I went to work the next day, Friday, and couldn't stop thinking about the intensity of the dream. It had really upset me, and I couldn't get out of the head. It wouldn't shift every moment of downtime. The thought about this dream invaded my mind. I've never known anything like it. And one day I transitioned from the steely-eyed rationalist to a 45-year-old man losing his stuff about a dream. 5 to 6 days later, I was visiting my mom, and she said, Oh, I was reading the local paper, and your friend John, his dad died last Thursday. That was the night of the dream. I know that people dream all the time, and people die all the time. So once in a while, the stars are going to align. But what I can't explain is this feeling. Before I knew about his dad's death, it wasn't just a dream. It was invading my every waking moment like no other experience. So that's my story. It's still debunk woo nonsense and paranormal bollocks, but this is one moment was very odd. You guys ever had a dream that just sets in your mind like that? Wow. Do you think it was like a premonition for his dad and for him to kind of be there for his friend? Who knows? Back in about 2008, I rented a room in my friend's house. I have a few stories from that place, but this one to me is the craziest. The house had been split into two. One side was like a studio apartment. Our side was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with kitchen and living room. I rented one bedroom. My roommate and her boyfriend shared the master bedroom, and her uncle rented the 3rd bedroom. All three being at the end of the hallway. On this day, I was the only one home. I was in the living room watching TV. The way it was set up was the TV was a large, probably 65, in that was mounted above the fireplace. The reflection of the TV showed the couch and the entrance to the hallway. So I'm watching TV, and at one point, the screen went black. Like at the end of the show, when it's going to the commercial break, and that reflection at the entrance of the hallway, I see a guy wearing full army fatigues. My roommate's boyfriend had served in the army, so I thought it was him. At the same time, the person in the reflection looked white, and the boyfriend was Hispanic. And I was like, why? TF, would he be standing there in his uniform? I turned my head to the right to look to the hallway entrance, and of course, nobody was there. Also, want to mention that at that point, the name James popped into my head for no reason at all, or so I thought. Anyways, fast forward a couple hours, my roommate and her boyfriend came home. Her boyfriend goes in the room to take a shower because he had come off work. I tell her what I saw and asked if the name James meant anything. She goes completely pale and calls her boyfriend into the living room as soon as he gets out of the shower. I then tell her boyfriend and bring up the name James. He starts getting emotional instantly. When he was serving, his unit being shot at, one of his friends was hit and he died in his arms. His friend's name, well, I'll let you guess that one. Ooh, do you think the friend attached to the boyfriend? Oh man, I got the goosebumps from that one. We'll do Fresh Encounter. It was posted 2 days ago by Disastrous Heart 6683 with 6 upvotes and 2 comments. It says Fresh Encounter. This just happened like 15 minutes ago, and I don't know what else to title it. To oh my goodness. I work in a construction office. The building has some offices with 2 doors leading into the warehouse. I worked here for 8 years, and we've all have heard some odd things, like footsteps and our names being called when they're not. About 4 years ago, our safety guy, who normally opens the office at around 5 a.m., usually alone for about an hour, he had sat down to take inventory when he saw some figure run across the warehouse and the lights flicker. That weekend, my boss got a notification alert that there was a sound during a weekend. This particular weekend, no one was supposed to be there. This prompted us to check the cameras. In the video, you can hear the doors leading to the warehouse being opened and slammed shut. They make a certain sound, and it's very loud. But in the video, you can clearly see the door stay closed. This lasted for a couple hours. And Monday morning, our safety guy said they were both locked like normal. So we always knew something has been in here for a while, but otherwise, it's been quiet. Fast forward to today. I have been organizing all our records that we keep in boxes outside into the new boxes, labeling and making spreadsheets. It's a very large project that will take me weeks. Last week, when I was out there, I had both my AirPods on and my music on full blast. I was out there for most of the workday, got a lot done with no issues. Today, I was in the warehouse for maybe about an hour. I am finishing making a box when I get an odd feeling, like someone watching me and walking up behind me. I figured it must be one of the guys trying to scare me. This next part happens in a matter of seconds. As I finish the box, I place my hands on the handles when I feel something on my back, looking over my shoulder, and say, I feel a little gust of air on the side of my neck and chest. As I'm about to snap my neck to turn my head out of the corner of my eye, I see a dark shadow of a head lie above me, but right in my face, then nothing. The warehouse was completely empty. I have had other paranormal experiences growing up, but that was like 20 years ago. So I turned back around and I kept repeating out loud, F this shit. I was just staring at my hands on the box in the same place on the handles. In my head, I kept saying, run, run, move, get inside. But I could hear myself still saying, F this. For what felt like an eternity, my legs would not move. It felt like I was out of my body. Finally, I dropped the box and ran inside all the way to my office. When my coworkers asked if I was okay, I told her to feel my here. I told her to feel my here and then recounted what happened. I left another coworker's precious scissors out there, but I will not go get them. I do not know how to explain it, but I know it was a tall man and the voice was deep and curious. Like he was wondering what I was doing, why my hands are still shaking as I'm typing this. Whew. So, guy's at work and he's getting the last box done of the day and he feels a cold chill. And when he looks behind him, there's a tall, dark figure that goes boo and vanishes. Man, I don't even know if I would want to work there anymore, you know? This one's a short one. 3 days ago, that's by that cleaning girl. And it says night shift at the hospital. Ooh, my wifey started working at the hospital and she's already getting the ghost stories there. And she's like, nah. Okay, it's a short one. It says, I've been doing night shifts to earn extra cash as a nighttime cleaner. Saturday night, I looked up and I see this man at the information desk standing by the security guard. When I looked back around, the same man was at the nurse station behind me when nobody was there. Lights were out for bedtime and nurses were doing rounds. I brushed it off as I'm starting to get silly. Often I see shadows or things in the corner of my eyes, and as I go down to the basement, there's this eerie feeling down by the morgue, like somebody is watching me in the corner of the hall, not just cameras. The other night cleaner is rather odd fella. He leaves very detailed reports on eerie feelings and odd things he's seen. Sunday night, I heard call bells going off to let somebody into the building. When security and myself looked outside, nobody was there, but the call bells kept ringing on and off all night shift. Jeez. Yeah, you figure like one of the places to be haunted is a hospital. You know, I don't really hear too many stories about the hospital hauntings, but like you figure that's one of them. Alright, this one's called Something is Following Me. Okay, I know, the title sounds like the start of a rubbish horror novel, but everything I'm writing about is true. I noticed a few months ago, something following me. It shows itself in different ways, from a light hovering over me to a darkened figure peeking out from behind trees, etc. I've had experiences in the past, and they've always been a little odd, but these have been happening so often. As an addition, I feel like it's something separate entirely, but I do not believe I had an attachment a few years ago. Strange claw marks in the snow, following where I walked minutes before, and clear as day footsteps running towards me on night shift. I have no idea what these things are. The most recent one doesn't feel bad in any way, even if the figure behind the tree was creepy, but the one a few years ago felt pure evil. I should probably add that I'm not religious, but I do believe a lot in the paranormal, not just limited to spirits and demons. Let's see, this one was 23 hours ago by Sirius Knee 5623, and it says unknown entity. It's got 2 upvotes and 1 comment. And it goes, this particular encounter occurred when I was around 15. I had just started getting into cannabis and alcohol, but I don't really think substance plays a role. I was not under the influence, and I had other experiences prior which led me... Oh, the music's driving me crazy. Led me to believe an entity occupied the structure. Anyways, I was in bed, trying to sleep, when out of nowhere, I was in a half-fetal-like position. My body turned 180 degrees in clockwise motion. It wasn't too fast or slow. I was stunned, afraid, speechless, and tried convincing myself it was a dream. I knew it wasn't, though, which made it all the more terrifying. I didn't feel any pressure on my body, nor any sensation that would have been produced by something grabbing me. This encounter was beyond anything I had experienced. It felt malicious, like someone didn't want me at peace. I just laid there, still, almost like a possum when in danger is sensed. In the moments prior, I didn't hear or sense anything that was there. It wasn't changed the temperature, that. It never happened again. Has anyone experienced something similar? Yeah, I can't say I have or heard someone experience something. It says a body turned 180 degrees in a fetal position by itself. So this one was posted 2 days ago by Jin Dallas, and it says mysterious phone call with 15 upvotes and 6 comments. So I posted on here that I think my office is haunted. This is just one of the things that make me think so. About 9:30 one evening, somebody called my cell phone from the switchboard. I scrambled to answer it because when somebody's calling that late, they're probably trying to get something filed with the court before midnight and having a problem. By the time I got to the phones, they hung up. I tried calling back. Of course, I got a switchboard answering service. Then I thought, wait a minute. If somebody were having trouble filing something, they wouldn't have called me from the switchboard. They'd called me from their cell phone because they'd be in the office trying to get their damn computer to work. So I called the 2 attorneys who were most likely to have been the problems. They were both fine. The next day I asked the receptionist if she could check the switchboard and see who had called me at 9:30 the previous night. She could confirm that there had been a call to me, but it come from anybody's extension. Couldn't have come from anybody's extension. Someone had dialed out directly from a switchboard, so I asked her to check the cameras. Nobody was in the office. The clean crew left around 7. The security guard checked the floor 15 minutes later, and that was that. Oh, weird. Have any of you guys had experience at work that just can't be explained? I work warehouse, and sometimes I think I see shadows go through the aisles or whatever, but I play that off a little bit, you know? So this one's got 7 upvotes and 2 comments, and it's from Jester Fest. It says creepy childhood homes. I'm currently 29 years old, and all this happened a long time ago in my childhood home. However, all these experiences are vivid memories, things I could never forget. And I'd also love to hear if any of you had creepy childhood homes. I moved to this house when I was around 6. Well, I don't specifically remember the move-in date, as again, I was way too young to remember such trivial things to a child. I grew up and lived in that home for over 13 years. I did not have the best experience in that home. I hate to admit, my childhood home was full of DV, abuse, drinking. It was not a stable childhood, but I feel negative things can exacerbate paranormal activity. I noticed at certain points in my life I was picking up some extremely odd instances. Now, I remember these experiences extremely well. However, the order in which they all happened is iffy. I'll admit, I cannot remember in what order these things happened. However, I feel the order doesn't really matter in these instances. So, we had a long hallway, and in the living room, right in front of the hallway, we had a love seat. Now, us children were basically designated to the love seat, so we always sat there. Well, I remember frequently I'd stare down the hallway because it was creepy to me. I always got an uneasy feeling in the hallway. I simply chopped it up to a kid just feeling uneasy in a hallway, if that makes sense. But I started seeing things in the hallway. At one point, I remember one experience specifically that really got me. So, at the end of the hallway, we had a mirror. I vividly remember one time when I was looking down it, I thought I saw, a goat man, I'd say. His head was reminiscent of a goat, but it was difficult to make out specific features. But he wasn't invisible, at least not to me. I could see the reflection of the creature in the mirror. He started to be a frequent occurrence that I hate to admit I started getting used to it. We also ignorantly used Ouija boards as kids. We somehow thought it was funny. But my siblings kept the board in her closet. One day, she went and got my mother because she smelled something burning. We cleaned out the clothes from the closet. The Ouija board was under her clothes. You know, kids aren't super clean. So she usually just shoved all of her clothes in the closet. I want to specify the closet wasn't really a closet. It had no door. It was just like a little nook behind the wall with a rack, and the rest was empty. No wires, no outlets, no pipes, noted, just wall, carpet, AMD the rack. Well, when we poured her clothes out, the shirt that was on top of the Ouija board had a hole burned right in it. Now me, being the older sibling, I couldn't let it slide, so I took the board and idiotically snapped it over my knee and threw it out. I thought I was protecting my family, even though now realizing it was not a good idea. Another time, kids, they hate chores. My mother was in the kitchen doing dishes and asked me to vacuum the hallway. I was pissed off, being a snot-nosed brat. So while I was vacuuming, I started straight down at the floor in the hallway. Now, my mother's room was at the end of the hall near the mirror. So, as I'm looking down vacuuming, I see the end of a nightgown and barefoot in the doorway of my mother's room. I am still pissed off, so I just think it's my mom. So I ignore her because I was mad and all. So I looked away. I finished cleaning. I get done and I stand up. And only then I think about it. Hey, my mom is doing dishes. This is a narrow hallway. There's not a single chance in hell I wouldn't have noticed her walking past me. So I wind up the vacuum, go into the kitchen. Yep, she's still there. Also, she had been wearing normal clothes the entire time, not a nightgown. All that registered the fact that began to freak me out. Who did I see? I mean, they probably often, since I didn't even acknowledge them, but I'll include one final experience. This happened when I was a lot older. My family has always been struggling financially. My mother is disabled, and my abusive father left when I was 12. At this point, I'm 19. We had lost my childhood home. I had no intention of causing any damage, and I knew my way well around the house. I didn't actually break anything to get in. I had my ways of getting into the locked homes, as I've been locked out before when I was growing up there. Again, I'm going down the hallway to get to my old bedroom. Now, I never felt comfortable in the house, even at that point. So, to keep myself calm while we walk to the empty house to get my stuff, I decide to whistle to myself to make myself more at ease. Halfway down the hallway, I was next to my sibling's old bedroom, and I feel weird. I stop whistling. About 5 seconds later, someone else starts to whistle. I nearly jumped out of my skin because supposedly completely alone in that home. So I try to be a tough guy, thinking someone else is squatting in there. So I slam her bedroom door open. No one. It was completely empty. Not a single human being in that house. Just me. At that point, I panicked, quickly grabbed my box, and I left and ran out the front door. That was the last time in the home. To this day, no one lives in that home. People move in and out. They don't stay. I can't guarantee what happened was paranormal and maybe the logic explanation, but to me, growing up in that house was physically a mental hell, and I'm so happy to never step foot in it again. Which saddens me to an extent, because most of the fun memories of childhood homes, mine are just memories of freaky things I used to see and hear. Son is being haunted by his fake dad. This was 5 days ago. By Medical Money 7327. And the title says, Son is being haunted by his fake dad. Posted a few days ago on a different sub, looking for ways to protect my son. Yesterday, we bought some carbon monoxide detectors. All good there, and sage. This has been happening over the course of the last couple weeks. Last night, things took a turn. Originally, post below with the last night's event at the bottom. My son, CJ, age 4, appears to have an entity bothering him. He calls him his fake dad. He mentions him for a while now, but anytime we ask questions about fake dad, he usually changes the subject. At first, we laughed about it, thinking it was strange name for imaginary friend. I'm also starting to think it's not the case. Recently, it's been escalating. Last week, CJ told us he used to have a fake mom, but she drowned in the ocean. Creepy, right? But we were driving back from the beach at that time, and we asked if fake dad was with us, and he said no, and that he didn't really want to talk about fake dad. Tonight, My husband and I were eating dinner after CJ had gotten up to play, and we heard him say to himself, "Ouch!" That was a bad idea. I should have never listened to him. We asked him what he meant, and he told us Fake Dad told him to walk across his new train track, his new birthday present that he loves. CJ told us that Fake Dad always tells him to do bad things like break toys. He hasn't done this yet, but tonight was the first time he really opened up about Fake Dad. He told us that Fake Dad gets mad when he hugs his dad. He was pretty upset and told us he doesn't like Fake Dad and wishes he would leave him alone. As I was typing this, CJ started crying from his bedroom. I went to check on him, thinking he was messing around and hurt himself. But the lights were still off and he had fallen off the bed, which he never does. Done this before. He was confused about how it could have happened. It's escalating quickly. What kind of entity is this, and how can I help my son? Thanks for your help. There's an update. Last night, we heard a loud bang coming from CJ's bedroom. I went to check on him, but the lights were off, and I could see that CJ was in bed, and it looked like he was asleep. I was standing in the doorway, trying to figure out what caused the noise, when my husband walked up behind me, suddenly. CJ sat up and said, "He told me you would come." I asked CJ who told him that, and he pointed to the corner of the bedroom and said, "Fake Dad." I looked towards where he pointed and saw a silhouette of a very large man standing in the corner. My husband saw the same thing and quickly turned on the lights, but nothing was there. We packed some bags and left. There was no way anyone was going to sleep in that house, and honestly, I'm not sure if I ever want to go back. We're at my aunt's house now, and we're going to talk to the priest this afternoon. I feel like I'm living in a horror movie. What the heck is going on? And how do I get it to leave my child alone? That was a good one. Wow. Man, no, no thank you. Don't get my kids. I don't want that stuff around my kids. Hello everybody. Thanks once again for hitting the end of the podcast here. I hope you enjoyed a couple of bone-chilling stories on Reddit here. What would greatly help the channel out is hitting that subscribe button there to follow along to get information. If you'd like to share your story here on the podcast, hit me up in the DMs or oopsallghosts@gmail.com and we'll respond back to you. Hopefully get you on the show as soon as we can. Anyways, stay spooky.